What's lunch or dinner? Anyone? Okay. How many of you actually thought about or made a conscious choice of where your meat came from? Any thought process around it? Oh, excellent. Very good. I must admit that I haven't thought much about this in the 44 years of my life. I'm a little embarrassed to admit that. But recently, I've been doing a lot of studying, a lot of research, and it's kind of weighing very heavily on my mind, just exactly how our food is produced today. And I want to share some of that with you, and not in hopes of having everybody in here become vegan or vegetarian, because I certainly have not been able to adopt that viewpoint yet. But just to make you aware, so that maybe you can make more conscious choices and be a little bit more aware of what's going on in our society today. A few months ago, there was this billboard on the corner of Mulberry and Riverside. And I go down that road every day. And I would look at this billboard, and those of you who know me know that I'm a huge dog lover. And I would look at it and be like, oh, pulling at my heartstrings. But I can't not eat bacon. Same thing when I see the cows going by in the big semis, their little noses sticking out the air holes. Make me very sad. But again, I would think, gosh, I can't not eat steak. Now, it's not that I can't eat bacon or I can't eat steak. I'm perfectly capable of not eating that. I certainly don't eat it every day of my life. But I never thought about where my food came from. Again, until just recently. When I was a little girl, my favorite thing in the whole wide world was fried chicken. I absolutely loved fried chicken. And my grandmother would make it for me every Sunday afternoon. One day I saw her go out in the backyard, grab a chicken, and proceed to chop its head off. Now, I don't know if I blocked out what happened the rest of that day, but all I know is that day I could not eat that chicken on that table. Of course, days, weeks, months later, I continued to eat my chicken. Now, hindsight, that's probably a better way to have gotten my chicken than how I am getting it today. Because as long as it shows up at the grocery store wrapped in this nice cellophane and styrofoam, I'm perfectly okay with that. And it reminds me of another little story. Right before Thanksgiving, there was this little girl on the radio, and she was crying because she just found out that they were killing the turkeys for Thanksgiving. And her mom was trying to console her. And through her tears, she was saying, but you have to get the food turkeys, not the animal turkeys. And this is how I was relating to her. As long as you get the food from the grocery store and you don't think about where it comes from, I was okay. Reality, though, this is how I was perceiving how our animals are raised. I don't know what all of you have gone through your life thinking, but I could think of them out in the pastures, feeding on the grass, having the warm Colorado sunshine on their back. And I was okay with that until I started doing some research, and I started reading this book recently called The Jungle. Anybody? Upton Sinclair, The Jungle? Whew. Tough book to read. In actuality, this is what's going on in our food production today. Animals are raised in what we call these confined animal feeding operations. In these crates, there's barely any room to turn, and they live their lives this way. And I say live because what kind of life is that now? From the time they're born to the time they're sent to slaughter, this is how they live their lives. And not only is this detrimental, obviously, and inhumane to our animals, they are treated poorly in these conditions. They are slaughtered mercilessly, sometimes without even being fully killed. So the idea that, I was okay eating bacon when I thought it came from this happy pig with her little piglets at the top, it's not what's existing in our culture today. This has a huge impact, not only on the animal welfare, But environmentally, the emissions that are given off by these animals, the pollution that it causes in our air, the people who live around these areas, the people who work in these meatpacking plants, the injuries that are caused. And an interesting study I found was that all of the grain that is raised to feed our livestock is actually more than enough food to feed all the hungry people in the world. So it's just something that's really getting out of control and very upsetting. Does anybody, I put this picture of the map of the United States up here for the sole purpose of, we have 300 million people in the United States today. Does anybody have any idea how many, just cattle, not our entire food population of meat products, just cattle, how many cattle are slaughtered in the U.S. only today? Anybody have an idea? 1.5 million. So imagine taking the United States, cutting it in half, and half of the population of the United States disappearing overnight. Of course, with the plants and the greedy corporations, they're quickly turning these animals around, reproducing them, injecting them with hormones to fatten them up quicker so that they can supply the demand of what we require in our food today. So what can we do? Sometimes I get so overwhelmed when I think about this, and I get sad, and I get depressed, but I'm starting to take small steps, and that's what I'm hoping today to impart upon you, is to maybe just take small steps. In the new year, I am going to go meatless Mondays. I've already cut out dairy. I shouldn't say completely. I've switched to almond milk. I haven't been using regular milk, but when I have recipes, I call for it. I get my chickens from a gal at the office whose daughter raises chickens. And so I just want you to think about what things you can take, what steps you can take. And as Zig Ziglar once said, the greatest of all mistakes is to do nothing because you think you can only do a little. So I just want to leave you thinking today about what small change you can take to make an improvement.